Good evening. Welcome to California Today. I'm David Zhang. Here is a preview of some of today's top stories. State lawmakers still can't agree on what fentanyl-related bills to pass, so now they're planning to leave it up to voters to decide. A congressman introduced articles to impeach the head of Homeland Security for the border crisis, but DHS says Congress should work with them, not point fingers. Picturesque views and superb waves for surfing. That's what most beaches are known for. But sometimes hazards can also be lurking in the waters. California Governor Gavin Newsom will sit for an interview with Fox News host Sean Hannity next week. This will be his first time on the network in over a decade. The two will discuss topics like immigration, the economy, and the presidential election. They will also talk about Newsom's latest proposal for a constitutional amendment. The amendment addresses what he called a national gun violence crisis. The interview will air on June 12th. This week, officials announced a state constitutional amendment that will ask voters to implement Alexandra's Law. This law requires convicted fentanyl dealers to receive a warning. That warning will empower prosecutors to file homicide charges if the dealer continues to sell fentanyl and causes a death.
Assembly members, law enforcement officials, and local representatives met on June 6 in front of the Capitol in Sacramento to announce Assembly Constitutional Amendment 12. This would put stricter fentanyl enforcement on the upcoming 2024 presidential election ballot.
ACA 12 will need to go through the legislative process first as a proposed constitutional amendment. However, the ACA as a proposed constitutional amendment no longer relies on the legislature to make this decision, as it allows the voters to make the final call.
At issue is Alexandra's Law, a measure that would give convicted fentanyl dealers notice that any future actions resulting in death could be met with murder charges, similar to the Watson admonishment given after DUI convictions.
Alexandra's Law is simple and reasonable. This law won't pack our jails with those committing petty drug offenses, as some of our legislators falsely say it will do. What it will do is give law enforcement the ability to stop someone who continues to sell a drug that results in instant death.
The bill was introduced in 2022 and again this year. Both attempts failed. Assemblywoman Diane Dixon said that this move will, quote, bring Alexandra's Law to the voters so they can make the final decision on this critical life and death policy solution. Some Democratic members have been hesitant to increase penalties, with preventative measures and education as the preferred course of action. This new proposal will have to pass the legislature with a 2/3 vote in both houses before being placed on the ballot for voters.
Meanwhile, on the federal level, a congressman has introduced articles of impeachment against the head of Homeland Security. The move came shortly after an investigation by the Committee on Homeland Security, who determined deliberate failure to secure the southern border.
Republican Congressman Clay Higgins introduced 2 articles of impeachment on Wednesday against the Department of Homeland Security, or DHS, Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas. Following an investigation by the Committee on Homeland Security, the Louisiana congressman says Mayorkas deliberately failed to secure the southern border and has disregarded his constitutional oath. This comes as southwestern states, including California, have been seeing new waves of people crossing the border since the end of Title 42 last month. According to a press release, Higgins says, quote, Secretary Mayorkas has long crossed that threshold. His arrogant disregard for the security and sanctity of the American people has been shocking to behold. But a DHS spokesperson told NTD that, quote, policy differences are not grounds for impeachment, adding that instead of pointing fingers and pursuing a baseless impeachment, Congress should work with the department and pass comprehensive legislation to fix our broken immigration system, which has not been updated in decades. Recently, the U.S. Customs and Border Protection, or CBP, under the direction of Secretary Mayorkas, expanded the CBP One app in April 2022. This mobile app allows people to cross the southern border via, quote, humanitarian parole. Many of the illegal immigrants are reportedly being bused to the San Ysidro and Otay Mesa ports of entry in San Diego County from other points on the southern border. CBP has recorded approximately 1,000 illegal immigrant crossings at the border daily.
Southern California is known for its picturesque beaches, pristine sunsets, and superb surf. But things aren't always as they appear. NTD's Christina Corona dives in deep to find out if there are any hazards lurking in the water at your favorite beach.
I've been hitting the Southern California waves for years and years, and one of my favorite things to do is spend the day boogie boarding. But before you take a dip into the Pacific Ocean, there are a few things you need to know about. Sharks, jellyfish, and 9-foot waves used to keep us all out of the water. But one Southline organization says there are other risks we should be aware of before we don our swimsuits and take the big plunge. Luke Ginger, a water quality specialist with Heal the Bay, tells us what his decades-old organization is doing to keep our beaches and other waterways cleaner, safer, and pollution-free.
Heal the Bay is an environmental nonprofit organization, and we were founded in 1985. And our mission is to keep the coastal watershed of Los Angeles clean and safe and healthy for all the organisms and people that live in and around it. Heal the Bay has achieved a lot of significant progress over the years. Most notably, we've gotten a lot of legislation in place that will keep pollution out of the ocean and out of the lakes, rivers, and streams. And also, we've passed legislation to reduce single-use plastics, so we won't have trash floating around in the ocean.
The trash generated by one person doesn't seem substantial, but when multiplied by hundreds of thousands of people littering, it can lead to serious global issues.
It's important to keep our oceans clean because the Earth, the well-being of all of humanity relies on a healthy ecosystem. So the ocean provides a lot of services that folks aren't necessarily thinking about. It's where people get food, it's how we transport goods, and it's also how the Earth gets its oxygen. So humans can get sick from contacting polluted water, like swimming or surfing in polluted water. Humans can also get sick from consuming wildlife like fish that have been contaminated with pollutants such as lead and mercury, and now we're seeing plastic show up in our seafood.
On top of trash, pollutants, and debris, there are other dangerous health hazards that can wreak havoc on our shared waters. For example, sewage spills. This week alone, there were 2 large sewage spills here in Los Angeles County.
There was one spill up in Malibu near the pier. That was about 5,000 to 6,000 gallons of raw sewage that spilled into the ocean. There was another spill in Long Beach, upstream from the ocean in the LA River. That was a 50,000 gallon spill. And that could pose a health risk to humans because it contains a lot of pathogens and viruses that can get people sick.
The last thing this reporter needs is a bellyache and a missed week of work. Heal the Bay also told us that for those who want to check the water quality grades of their favorite beach, they can visit beachreportcard.com or download the Beach Report Card app for free. Now, if you want to change the world, sometimes the best way to start is in your own backyard.
Folks should log on to healthebay.org, where they can find all of the volunteer opportunities that we offer, including beach cleanups. We have large cleanups in the LA area on the 3rd Saturday of every month. Folks should also follow us on social media for other updates and information about special events.
Whether you're tanning along the coast, swimming near the shoreline, or simply dipping your toes into the clear ocean water, it's important to stay mindful of beach warnings and hazards before you jump in and try to catch that perfect wave. Christina Corona, NTD News, Santa Monica.
We'll take a short break now, but here's a look at what we have for you when we come back. People and businesses leaving California have filled the headlines in recent months. One industry expert shares with NTD what he thinks will be the next to leave. And it's Friday, so we'll take a look at some upcoming fun events and activities happening this weekend. More on those stories coming up on California Today. Welcome back to California Today. I'm your host, David Zhang. In recent months, headlines have been filled with companies leaving the Golden State, insurance companies ending coverage for Californians, and large corporations relocating their headquarters elsewhere. What's going on, and is there hope for change? I spoke to a corporate site selection expert, John Boyd, to hear more on what's happening among businesses. Thank you for joining us, John. We've been seeing a lot of headlines on companies and businesses leaving California, particularly in San Francisco. So first question, if you were to take a wild guess, which company do you think is the next one to move its headquarters out of California? Is it going to be Chevron, Wells Fargo, or Twitter?
Well, a lot of industry analysts, myself included, expect a Twitter relocation in the months ahead. Twitter is in a cost-cutting mode. A major priority of Twitter is to also rebrand itself. And I can't think of a better way to do that than relocate out of the Bay Area. Twitter is not a client of ours. However, we're in this business, in this industry. We talk to developers and stakeholders on a routine basis. We fully expect Twitter to relocate out of the Bay Area based upon Musk's contentious relationship with San Francisco officials, which of course is heating up with this so-called Hotel Twitter investigation, where San Francisco bureaucrats, which should be focused on law and order, are instead devoting resources and time to making Twitter, to being even less hospitable to Twitter and to Elon Musk, who is the largest job creator and investor in the state of California. So, we're keeping a close eye on that. We recently did a study. We looked at locations throughout the country that present location advantages for Twitter. We think Northern Nevada would be an ideal location for Twitter, given its proximity to the Bay Area. Nevada has no corporate or personal income tax. There's a great submarket, Minden, Nevada, which has available and attractive land. It's just south of Reno, which is one of the nation's hottest growing tech markets, where Tesla has its first gigafactory.
I've noticed that sometimes the so-called California exodus is more like a Bay Area exodus, because some of the businesses and people are not moving to places too far away. They're going to places like Davis, Sacramento, or Reno, only a few hours away.
That's right. And within the context of California, Sacramento has been successful in luring companies that want to maintain a presence in California at a slightly lower cost profile and in a more manageable capacity versus Oakland or San Jose or San Francisco, dealing with these double whammies of unaffordability and skyrocketing crime levels.
So relocating a company headquarters is not an overnight decision in most cases. So what do you think was the tipping point that made companies say, that's it, we're leaving? Is it inflation, crimes, COVID-19 lockdown, taxation, or regulation?
Well, it's the marriage of those factors: the softened economy, the inflation crisis, the new preference for companies to embrace this hybrid work model, this era of unprecedented mobility for workers, and this crime issue, and this accommodating attitude that too many California lawmakers have for crime, for homelessness, for incessant panhandling, for brazen shoplifting. Okay, there's a feeling that job creators and taxpayers are getting a better return on their dollar in winning states like Nevada, Texas, Florida, Tennessee, the Carolinas, Arizona, Utah. I mean, these are the states attracting people, companies, and new taxable income.
Well, we have some city officials who say San Francisco is not as bad as the headlines make it seem, and only a few companies are leaving. But as you know, overall, the unemployment rate is still very low. Now, I know your company specializes in corporate site selection, so what does the data tell us?
Well, there are still business climate deniers, okay, that want to ignore the high-profile relocations like Charles Schwab and McKesson and Oracle and CBRE out of California in recent years. There's business climate deniers that want to ignore the billions of dollars of taxable income that have left California in recent years and the subsequent record budget deficits associated with that outmigration of wealth and job creators. There's business climate deniers that want to ignore the Retail industries leaving California, like Saks and Nordstrom and Whole Foods and Office Depot in recent weeks have decided to leave the Bay Area. But it's becoming more difficult to really ignore those facts when you look at the latest census data, okay, which shows that for the first time in the history of the census, California has lost representation in Congress, lost representation in the Electoral College, while states like Texas and Florida have gained representation in the Electoral College and in Congress. So people are voting with their feet. Okay, this is a new era of that we're dealing with today, and it's more difficult for California lawmakers to put their head in the sand and ignore what the data is telling us.
Sure, we all know California does have its problems, but on the other hand, California does have very good weather and diversity. Well, what changes do you think will attract companies to come back to California? What are companies looking for?
California is the 5th largest economy in the world. It's a diverse state, home to many rich resources. It enjoys unique linkages to the global marketplace. And many key industries. It's the largest consumer market in the U.S. It's home to major research institutions and colleges and universities and venture capital money. But that said, fixing California will take real solutions. Okay, this never-ending cycle of borrowing, taxing, and spending, record deficits, of having a permissible attitude towards crime and homelessness. But I don't sense a real political will to really turn the ship around. It's going to take difficult decisions, things like tax cutting and pension reform, and real law and order policies to make California competitive again.
Great. Well, thank you so much, John. Thank you for your insights.
Sure.
Now, there is plenty of fun things to do, even with everything that's going on. If you're looking for some weekend activities, you're in luck. Here's a list of some upcoming events in the Golden State.
First up is Southern California, where Huntington Beach is holding its 72nd annual Pier Swim. Join or watch this yearly tradition where participants take on a challenging half-mile swim. Now, if you're a foodie, you can immerse yourself in the renowned 626 Night Market, showcasing food, merchandise, and entertainment. This weekend's location is in Southern California's Costa Mesa. And San Jose in Northern California is hosting a similar food-based event called Foodie Land Night Market. Make sure to bring cash for most vendors at either event. The Balboa Yacht Club hosts its 7th annual Wooden Boat Festival in Corona del Mar. It features traditional marine craftsmanship. People interested in any of these activities can check for specific locations, times, and ticket prices on the event websites.
Now we're going to check in with NTD's Carlos Reyes for our sports roundup.
This is your California Sports Roundup, and I'm Carlos Reyes. In a jaw-dropping turn of events, the soccer universe has been set ablaze by the news that Lionel Messi, the football wizard himself, has chosen to grace the sunny shores of Miami, joining Inter Miami in the MLS of all places. This news is not just huge, it's the kind of seismic shift that sends shockwaves across the sporting world, rewriting the future of soccer in the United States. Picture this. Messi, the genius who has conquered every soccer peak, was offered unthinkable riches from Saudi Arabia, a pot of gold that would have left lesser mortals gasping for breath. But no, Messi had bigger dreams, a greater purpose in mind. He yearned to make an impact where soccer is still growing, developing, where its true potential lies untapped, the United States of America. Returning to Barcelona, his beloved Catalan home, seemed like a fairy tale ending. However, Messi couldn't bear the thought of his teammates having to sacrifice their wages just to accommodate for his return. Reports also indicate that his wife, Antonella Roccuzzo, may have played a significant role in this monumental decision. Now let's get down to the nitty-gritty. Valued between a staggering $125 million and $150 million, this complicated contract spans 2.5 years, with an enticing option year for 2026. But it doesn't stop there. It's a deal that incorporates salary, bonuses, and even equity in the team. Apple, the MLS's broadcast partner, and Adidas are also offering profit-sharing agreements. So, my beloved football fans, fasten your seatbelts because the Bay Area will now have the opportunity to witness an all-time great when Inter Miami takes the pitch at PayPal Park against your San Jose Earthquakes. Clayton Kershaw struck out 9 batters over 7 innings, and David Peralta had 4 hits and drove in 2 runs as visiting Los Angeles breezed to a win over Cincinnati. Kershaw allowed just 5 hits and posted his second straight 7-inning outing while matching his season high in strikeouts. Chris Taylor had 2 hits, including a solo homer in a 3-run 4th inning to help the Dodgers end their 4-game skid. Matt McClain and Ellie De La Cruz, 2 rookies at the heart of the Reds' comebacks earlier in the series, couldn't do it for a 3rd game. McClain went 2 for 4 with a double, while De La Cruz had a single and a steal, but struck out 3 times, twice against Kershaw. Dodgers 6, Reds 0. Michael Conforto homered for 1 of his 2 hits. Thairo Estrada also went deep, and San Francisco rallied to beat Colorado in Denver, its 11th straight win over the Rockies. Scott Alexander pitched the 8th to get the win, and Camilo Doval got the final 3 outs for his 16th save. The Giants improved to 16-3 in their last 19 games at Coors Field, where they have won 8th straight. Nolan Jones had 3 hits and 2 RBIs, and Jurickson Profar added 2 hits for Colorado. Giants 6, Rockies 4. That is it for today's Sports Roundup. Thank you for watching. I'm Carlos Reyes.
Thanks, Carlos, and that's all we've got for you tonight. We would like you to join us again on California Today every weekday at 8 p.m. Make sure to check out our broadcasts at ntd.com/California-today. You can also find all of our top latest clips there, ready to share with friends and family. Send us a message on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Gunjin World, or through our email, california.today@ntd.com. I'm David Zhang. Have a wonderful weekend.